Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old as gold, but these Jefferson Nickel 5-cent coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Coin number 1. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of US coinage to uncover the secrets of a coin that many people have sitting in their pocket change without realizing its hidden treasure. We're talking about the 1964 Jefferson Nickel. Yes, that humble 5-cent coin could be worth a small fortune if you know what to look for. And now, before you toss aside that old nickel in your junk drawer, you're going to want to hear the full story, because what looks like an ordinary coin might just be a jackpot in disguise. Stick around to the end of this video because we're going to reveal the jaw-dropping value that one special version of this coin has reached on the collector's market. Trust me, you won't believe your ears. Let's start with a little backstory. The Jefferson nickel first entered circulation in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by artist Felix Schlag, the coin featured a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his famous Virginia home, Monticello, on the back. The design remained largely unchanged for decades, making it one of the most iconic coins in American currency history. Fast forward to the year 1964, a pivotal moment for coin collectors. That year, the U.S. Mint struck more Jefferson nickels than ever before. Why? Because the country was facing a growing coin shortage, particularly in small denominations. Millions of Americans were hoarding coins, especially silver ones, thinking they might become more valuable. In response, the Mint churned out hundreds of millions of nickels in 1964, more than 1.7 billion to be exact. With that kind of volume, you might be thinking, how can this coin possibly be rare? Great question. While it's true that 1964 nickels are among the most common in existence, not all of them are created equal. Some rare variations, minting errors, and unique characteristics have turned a few of these nickels into serious collector's items. And the difference between a regular 5-cent piece and one of these gems could be worth thousands, literally. Let's talk design. On the obverse, or front side, you'll find Thomas Jefferson's profile with the words, "In God We Trust," on the left and "Liberty" in the year 1964 on the right. The reverse showcases Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical mansion. These details may seem standard, but collectors look for tiny things like the sharpness of the design, the alignment of the strike, the quality of the metal, and most importantly, whether the coin was struck with a special die. This is where things get really interesting. In 1964, the U.S. Mint made a critical decision. They froze the date on nickels for 2 years. All nickels produced in both 1964 and 1965 carried the date 1964. Because of this, the Mint created multiple dies and reused them more frequently, which resulted in a number of inconsistencies, double strikes, and other rare minting errors. Some of these errors were so subtle they went unnoticed for decades. But to the trained eye of a seasoned collector, they stand out like buried treasure. Some 1964 nickels have doubling on the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." Others might have repunched mint marks, where the tiny letter indicating where the coin was minted, Denver or Philadelphia, was stamped twice. And then there are the proof-like nickels, coins that were struck using polished dies but weren't officially classified as proof coins. These coins are incredibly rare because they were likely test strikes or accidental releases. A proof-like 1964 nickel with crisp detail and mirror-like surfaces can demand massive premiums. Another variety that collectors dream of finding is the full steps Monticello nickel. This refers to coins where every step leading up to Monticello is clearly visible and fully struck. It's a sign of a well-made coin, and examples with full steps are significantly rarer, especially from this year. Most 1964 nickels were struck quickly and carelessly due to the coin shortage, so a coin with full steps stands out as an exceptional find. So, what should you look for if you think you might have a valuable 1964 Jefferson nickel? First, check the condition. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they've never been used in everyday transactions, are much more valuable. Look for sharp detail, a shiny surface, and no signs of wear. Second, examine the mint mark. Is there a small D next to the year, indicating it was minted in Denver? Or is there no mint mark, meaning it came from Philadelphia? Both can be valuable, but certain Denver minted coins are known for specific errors and are especially sought after. Third, pull out a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and look closely at the lettering in Monticello. Are the steps fully struck? Is there any doubling? Are the lines crisp and well-defined? Any unusual markings could be a clue that your nickel is far more than just pocket change. And now, let's talk value. A regular 1964 Jefferson nickel in circulated condition? Worth about 5 cents. But the rare ones, the uncirculated coins, the full step varieties, the doubled dies, and especially the proof-like or error nickels? Those can climb in value very quickly. And then there's the Holy Grail. One exceptionally rare 1964 Jefferson nickel, with full steps and near perfect mint condition, was sold to a passionate collector for an astonishing $93,000. Yes, you heard that right, $93,000 for a single 5-cent coin. It's one of the most impressive and unexpected success stories in modern coin collecting, and a reminder that even the most ordinary-looking objects can hide incredible secrets. So before you dismiss that pile of old nickels in your drawer, take a closer look. You just might be holding a rare treasure that could change your life. And if you found this video helpful or inspiring, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more amazing coin stories just like this one. Coin number 2. Where pocket change becomes treasure and forgotten coins tell unforgettable stories. If you've ever wondered whether a simple nickel could be hiding serious value, then today's video is going to blow your mind. We're traveling back to 1971 to take a closer look at a small but powerful piece of American currency history, the Jefferson Nickel, minted in Denver, marked with a small D on the front. Now, I know what you're thinking: how could something as ordinary as a 5-cent coin be worth your time? But as you're about to discover, not all nickels are created equal. In fact, one rare version of this coin has stunned collectors and changed hands for a jaw-dropping sum. Stick with me, because we're going deep into what makes the 1971 D Jefferson Nickel not just interesting, but potentially life-changing for the lucky few who recognize its hidden value. To appreciate why this coin matters, you have to understand a bit of the story behind it. The Jefferson Nickel has been in circulation since 1938. It replaced the Buffalo nickel and quickly became an icon in its own right. The design features Thomas Jefferson on the front, looking to the left with a calm, stoic expression, and his famous home, Monticello, on the back. By 1971, the United States was in a period of change. The economy was shifting, the mint was adjusting to growing demand, and millions of coins were being produced at record speeds. That year, the Denver Mint alone struck more than 315 million Jefferson nickels. They were pumped out for everyday use at gas stations, vending machines, lunch counters, you name it, but buried within those hundreds of millions of coins are a tiny handful, just a few, that are truly rare. Why? Because of condition, unusual strikes, mint errors, and something that collectors treasure above all else: perfection in the details. Let's start with condition. If a coin has been bouncing around in pockets for over 50 years, it's likely scratched, dull, and worn down. But once in a while, someone stumbles upon a coin that somehow escaped all that. Maybe it was sealed in a roll, or forgotten in a drawer, never touched by daily life. These are known as uncirculated or mint-state coins. The surface is clean. The edges are sharp. The strike, the way the image is imprinted into the metal, is crisp and bold. And then there's something even more rare: full steps. And now, this might sound like a small detail, but it's huge in the world of coin collecting. On the back of the Jefferson Nickel, right below Monticello, there's a staircase. Normally, because of weak striking or worn dies, those steps appear faint or blurry. But a full steps coin shows every line, every division, like a tiny architectural blueprint struck into metal. That level of detail means the coin was made with care, using fresh dies and perfect pressure. And collectors pay a premium for it, but that's not all. Some 1971 D Jefferson nickels have rare errors. We're talking about off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the middle of the coin. Or double dies, where parts of the image, like the letters or numbers, appear slightly doubled. These are mistakes made at the mint, but instead of being tossed out, some of them made it into circulation. Now combine that kind of mint error with a coin in mint condition, and you're entering the world of high-stakes collecting. These rare combinations are what drive collectors wild. They know that coins like this don't come around often, and when they do, they become centerpieces in elite collections. So how do you know if you're holding a valuable 1971 D nickel? Start with the basics. Check the date, it should read 1971. Then look for the tiny D mint mark to the right of Thomas Jefferson's bust. That means it was minted in Denver. Next, look at the coin's condition. Does it shine? Are the details sharp? Can you see every line in Jefferson's hair, every brick on Monticello? Now flip it over and look at the steps. Are they clearly visible and separated? If so, you might have a full steps variety. And finally, study the coin for any unusual marks. Doubling, off-center strikes, odd lines, anything that looks out of place could be a sign of a mint error. If your coin checks all those boxes, you might be sitting on something truly special. So how much could it be worth? Well, while most 1971 D nickels are only worth face value, just 5 cents, a rare few, in exceptional condition and with those full steps or unique errors, have stunned the coin collecting world. One such nickel, preserved in remarkable condition, displaying perfect detail, and showing full steps on Monticello, was auctioned to a private collector for an astonishing $85,000. Yes, you heard that right. $85,000 for a coin that was originally worth just 5 cents. It's stories like this that keep collectors searching, checking every coin, every old jar, every forgotten roll in grandma's attic. Because lightning can strike, and it can strike in the form of a little nickel minted in 1971. So if you've got old coins lying around, especially Jefferson nickels, now's the time to give them a second look. You never know. That coin you thought was worthless could be your ticket to something incredible. Coin number 3. Where history, design, and hidden value collide in the most unexpected ways. Today, we're shining the spotlight on a coin that most people don't even think twice about, the 1975 D Jefferson nickel. Yes, that simple 5-cent piece you might overlook at the bottom of your pocket could actually be worth far more than you'd ever guess. So grab your magnifying glass and settle in, because we're about to explore why this particular nickel could be one of the most valuable coins hiding in plain sight. And if you stick with us until the end, you'll hear just how high the value of this coin has soared. Hint, it's enough to change someone's life. Let's rewind to 1975. America was in the midst of cultural shifts, economic challenges, and political change. The Vietnam War was winding down, disco was starting to take over the airwaves, and coin production in the US was operating at full speed. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado and marked by the tiny letter D on many coins, was busy striking millions of Jefferson nickels to meet everyday demand. That year, more than 400 million Jefferson nickels were minted in Denver. That's an enormous number, which makes what we're about to reveal even more surprising, because out of all those coins, only a very small number have characteristics that make them truly rare and incredibly valuable. So what makes one 1975 D nickel different from the rest? It all starts with the design. On the obverse, or front of the coin, we have the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag. Jefferson's profile faces left, the word liberty is to his right, and the date, 1975, sits just ahead of a small d indicating it was minted in Denver. Flip the coin over, and you'll find Jefferson's beloved home, Monticello, a neoclassical architectural masterpiece. It's been featured on the nickel since 1938, and it remains one of the most instantly recognizable landmarks in American numismatics. But even though this design was used for decades, not every coin came out of the mint looking the same. The striking process, how the design is impressed onto the blank metal disc, is never perfect. Dies wear out, machinery gets misaligned, and in rare cases, extraordinary mistakes occur. These small imperfections and anomalies are what make a coin go from ordinary to extraordinary in the eyes of collectors. Let's talk about one of the most important features a collector looks for, the full steps. If you look closely at Monticello on the back of the Jefferson nickel, you'll see a series of steps leading up to the building. In most circulated nickels, those steps are blurred or partially missing due to worn dies or fast striking. But every now and then, a coin is struck with such sharpness and clarity that all 6 steps are fully visible, separated by clear, clean lines. This is what's known as a full steps Jefferson nickel, and it's one of the biggest keys to value. A 1975 D nickel with full steps is incredibly hard to find. Why? Because the dies used that year were often overused due to the high production demand. The result? Soft strikes, blurred steps, and coins that just don't have that crisp detail collectors dream about. But full steps aren't the only factor that can skyrocket the value. Mint errors, those unintentional mistakes made during the striking process, are another game changer. Imagine finding a 1975 D nickel with a double die, where the letters or numbers appear twice because of a slight shift in the die. Or how about an off-center strike, where part of the design is missing because the blank was misaligned during striking? These rare anomalies are incredibly valuable, especially when combined with mint state condition, and speaking of condition, it matters more than anything. Most coins in your pocket or change jar have been passed around, spent, dropped, scratched, and generally worn down by decades of use. But some coins, thanks to being sealed in rolls, bags, or collections, remain nearly untouched. When a 1975 D nickel is found in mint state condition with a grading of MS65 or higher, it stands out immediately. And now, let's talk about grading for a moment. Coins are professionally graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS65 or higher is considered gem uncirculated, and anything MS67 or above is a true rarity, especially for high mintage coins like the 1975 D nickel. When you combine a high grade with full steps, and possibly even a mint error, you've got a recipe for an incredibly valuable coin. And here's the kicker: not all of these coins have been discovered yet. There are still thousands of rolls of old nickels sitting in basements, attics, safety deposit boxes, and dusty drawers. Most people don't take the time to check. But a handful of sharp-eyed collectors have found true treasures hiding in everyday places: change jars, estate sales, garage finds, or inherited collections. So what should you do if you think you found a 1975 D Jefferson nickel worth something? First, check for the D mint mark to the right of the ear. Then examine the steps on Monticello. Are they full and clearly defined? Look for signs of doubling, off-center design, or any odd marks. And finally, evaluate the condition. If it's sharp, shiny, and shows no signs of wear, you may have something worth submitting to a professional coin grading service. And now, the moment you've been waiting for: one extremely rare 1975 D Jefferson nickel, in pristine mint state condition, boasting full steps and flawless details, was sold at a private auction for an astonishing $80,000. That's right, $80,000 for a 5-cent coin. It's a perfect example of how knowledge, attention to detail, and a little luck can turn a pocketful of change into a true treasure. So before you spend that old nickel, take a second look. Because the next big discovery might just be sitting in your own collection. Coin number 4, where pocket change turns into possibilities in old coins, could mean a brand new future. If you've ever wondered whether one of those forgotten nickels at the bottom of a jar could actually be worth thousands of dollars, you're about to find out. Because today, we're diving into a little coin with a huge secret: the 1985 D Jefferson Nickel. That's right. A 5-cent piece, minted in the mid-80s, from the Denver Mint. It may look ordinary. It may even seem common. But as you'll soon see, certain versions of this coin are anything but. In fact, one of them recently sold for a jaw-dropping price, an amount that most people wouldn't believe unless they saw it for themselves. So grab your magnifying glass, settle into your seat, and let's go deep into the story behind this unassuming coin, because by the time we reach the end, you might be inspired to dig through your own change for a slice of hidden treasure. Let's start with the basics. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, it features a dignified portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. The design remained largely unchanged for decades, making it one of the most recognized and enduring coins in circulation. In 1985, the Denver Mint, identified by the small d located just next to the year on the obverse, produced millions of Jefferson nickels. Over 459 million, to be exact. That's a lot of nickels. Most of them were struck for everyday use: coffee machines, grocery stores, coin tosses, piggy banks, you name it. So why would anyone think a 1985 D nickel could be rare, let alone valuable? Well, in the world of coin collecting, rarity isn't just about how many were made. It's about how many survived in exceptional condition. It's about detail. It's about perfection. And most importantly, it's about those elusive errors and variations that slip through the cracks during the minting process, unnoticed by the public, but priceless to collectors. Now let's talk about condition. Most coins, especially nickels, get worn out fast. They're used constantly, rubbing against other coins, bouncing in pockets, dropping on floors. But once in a while, a coin is preserved, never circulated, never scratched, never worn. It's known as being in mint state, and when that mint state is paired with a high grade, say MS66 or higher, you've got something special. But there's more. For Jefferson nickels, one of the biggest indicators of quality is what collectors call full steps. Take a close look at Monticello on the reverse of the coin. Right at the front are the steps. On most nickels, those steps are blurry or only partially struck due to worn dies or rushed production. But when you can see all 6 steps clearly separated, no blending or smudging, that's a sign of a sharp, clean strike. These are the full steps nickels, and they're significantly rarer and more desirable. Finding a 1985 D nickel with full steps is a serious challenge. The dies used at the Denver Mint that year were heavily used and worn down quickly, which led to soft, weak strikes. Combine that with the fact that almost 500 million of these coins were produced without the intention of them being collected, and the chances of finding one with full steps and a high mint state grade become incredibly slim. But slim doesn't mean impossible. A few lucky collectors, coin roll hunters, and sharp-eyed hobbyists have managed to uncover coins that stand out from the rest. 1985 D nickels that were not only struck with precision but also survived untouched. These coins might have been sealed away in mint rolls, stashed in collections, or forgotten in change jars, waiting for decades to be rediscovered. Now, if you happen to find one of these nickels in your collection, here's what to look for. First, locate the D mint mark, right beside the date. Then flip the coin over and examine the steps on Monticello. If you can count all 6 steps, with no merging or flat spots, that's your first big clue. Next, examine the coin's luster. Does it shine with a satin or mirror-like finish? Are there any nicks, scratches, or blemishes? A high-grade coin should look almost flawless, even under magnification, and of course, look for anything unusual: doubling in the lettering, off-center strikes, rotated dies, or unusual planchet flaws. Any of these factors can dramatically increase the coin's value. If your coin looks promising, the next step is to have it graded by a professional coin grading service. This is where the true value is confirmed, and it's also where the magic can happen, because one incredibly rare 1985 D Jefferson nickel, preserved in exceptional mint state, with clearly defined full steps and remarkable detail, recently made headlines when it was sold at auction for an unbelievable $73,000. Yes, you heard that right. $73,000 for a 5-cent coin minted in 1985. That's the kind of story that transforms coin collecting from a quiet hobby into a thrilling adventure. A small metal disc, passed over by millions, suddenly becomes a prized artifact that commands an enormous sum. And here's the best part: coins like this are still out there. They're in drawers, coin jars, and old collections, just waiting to be discovered. So, the next time you're sorting through spare change, don't rush. Take a close look at those nickels. The 1985 D Jefferson nickel might seem like just another coin, but with the right combination of condition, detail, and luck, it could turn out to be the most valuable 5 cents you've ever held. Coin number 5. We're going to take a close look at a coin you've probably seen dozens, if not hundreds of times: the 1987 D Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it may seem completely ordinary. Just a typical 5-cent piece, struck for everyday use. But what if I told you that one version of this very coin, just 5 grams of metal, is so rare, so pristine, and so unique, that it's sold for a staggering sum? That's right, this tiny coin from the 80s has a big story. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll hear exactly how much one of these nickels is worth today, and trust me, it'll make you want to start checking every single nickel in your coin jar. Let's go back to 1987. The United States was booming with pop culture, technology was rapidly evolving, and the mint was busy striking millions of coins to keep up with the growing economy. In that year, the Denver Mint, marked by the tiny D just beside the date, produced more than 450 million Jefferson nickels. Most of these coins went straight into circulation, into cash registers, vending machines, lunch counters, and parking meters. They were used, spent, and forgotten. But hidden within that massive production run were a few coins that were anything but ordinary. Before we get into what makes this nickel special, let's appreciate the design. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938. On the front, you've got Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States, author of the Declaration of Independence, facing left. It's a classic and timeless profile, designed by Felix Schlag. On the reverse, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's elegant Virginia estate, surrounded by the words E pluribus unum, United States of America, and, of course, the denomination, 5 cents. It's a clean, dignified coin that has endured for decades. But despite its familiar look, not every 1987 D nickel is the same. In fact, a select few are vastly different from the rest, and that's where the magic begins. So, what exactly turns a 5-cent coin into a valuable collectible? First, let's talk about condition. The vast majority of nickels get beat up over time. They're tossed in jars, clinked against other coins, and slowly lose their detail through daily use. But a few manage to escape that fate. These are the mint state coins, the ones that were never circulated, never scratched, and preserved in nearly perfect shape. The surfaces shine, the edges are sharp, and the designs are struck with crystal clarity. But even among mint-state coins, there are elite few that rise above the rest. Enter the world of full steps Jefferson Nickels. If you flip the coin over and look closely at Monticello, you'll see the steps leading up to the building. On most nickels, these steps are faint, blurred, or partially worn out due to weak strikes or worn dies. But a full steps nickel? That's the collector's dream. It means every individual step is fully visible, clearly separated, and sharply defined, something that's incredibly rare, especially in coins from the 1980s. Now, here's where things get really interesting. In 1987, the Denver Mint was cranking out coins at high speed. That usually means lower quality strikes, softer details, and very few coins with full steps. In fact, a full steps 1987 D nickel in high grade is extremely difficult to find. But wait, there's more. Some of these coins also come with minting errors, those rare mistakes made during the coin's production. These errors could include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, or even die cracks. And when an error appears on a mint-state coin with full steps, it becomes the numismatic equivalent of winning the lottery. Collectors go wild for these kinds of combinations because they check all the boxes: rarity, condition, historical interest, and visual uniqueness. So if you want to know whether your 1987 D nickel might be valuable, here's what to do. Start by checking the date. It must say 1987, and just to the right of that, you should see the small D mint mark, which means it was made at the Denver Mint. Next, flip the coin over and examine Monticello. Count the steps. Can you see all 5 or 6? Are they separated and clearly struck? If so, you could be holding a full steps nickel, and that's your first big clue. Then check the coin's condition. Is the surface shiny? Are the details crisp? Are there minimal scratches or dings? Mint-state nickels are extremely difficult to find in circulation, but not impossible. Finally, check for anything unusual. Look at the words. Are they clean, or do you see any doubling? Is the coin perfectly round, or slightly off-center? Do any parts of the design look distorted? These small details can add thousands of dollars to the coin's value, and if your coin looks promising, don't guess. Submit it to a professional coin grading service. A certified grade can confirm its authenticity, condition, and rarity. And with that, you're ready to unlock the true value of your coin. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. One stunning example of the 1987 D Jefferson Nickel, in mint-state condition, with fully defined steps and exceptional eye appeal, recently shocked collectors when it sold at auction for an incredible $67,000. Yes, $67,000 for a nickel. It's a reminder that the rarest treasures are sometimes hiding in the most familiar places. And it's why coin collectors all around the world continue to search, study, and preserve these little pieces of history, because the next great discovery might be right there in your pocket. Thanks for joining us on this amazing journey into the story of the 1987 D Jefferson Nickel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe for more coin stories and discoveries, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a chance to learn about coins that could be worth a fortune. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, one coin can change everything.